Start with a recap of the weekend. I thought about like I thought after the game. I thought the thing that stood out was we had some toughness to us and some resiliency, and we're really together and connected. Obviously I've talked about it was Saturday. You woke up Sunday's a different day, Monday's a different day, tomorrow's a different day. You got to do that all the time. But that was really what I saw. We weren't perfect by any means, and there's some things we needed to clean up, but I thought we dove on loose balls, we blocked shots, we put our body in plays, we played with just a tremendous amount of effort, and that was good, and that should be, as I told them, well, you should do that all the time. In terms of tomorrow, obviously great challenge. Really good basketball team, you know that. Very well coached, good personnel, great point guard, shooting around them. 4 and 5s that bring a lot of toughness to the table, whether it's rebounding, screening, some of them shooting, scoring in and around the basket, defending, rim protection. Brown comes off the bench and it really gives him a spark. He started the last time that we played. I got a lot of respect for him. He can really put the ball in the hole, and they've played well through consistently, and obviously have Lindsey back now, which adds another shooter scorer to the lineup, which makes him even more dangerous. And we expect a very hard fought game, and we've got to be ready to go. We had a good day yesterday. Got to have another good day today, and preparation for tomorrow. Questions? That it's exceptional. He made some mistakes the other day, and I'll take the 2 turnovers he had there late in the game. That was on me. The staff was suggesting to give him a blow at that point in time, and he had been out there for a long period of time, but I told him he wasn't tired, and so we got him out there and got him back in. But he's exceptionally tough.
What impact did the days off have in
last week?
Yeah, in maybe the increased toughness that you were talking about, and do you think that can carry over to just?
Yeah, we were able to practice a little harder. I shouldn't say hard. We always go hard, a little longer, and do some things that were more, as I said last week before we played Iowa, more geared towards us. And we do that every day, but there was more of that last week, especially early in the week when we didn't have to prepare for a midweek game. So I thought that was good for us. But give the players credit because they came in and they wanted to work that way. Sometimes you get to February, those guys have been through a lot. They had a great disposition last week, and they enjoyed and loved the physical the practices were and what we did, and played with great energy. And so because of that, I felt like we got better. And there's never a guarantee that you get rewarded for that. I've had teams play well in games and get beat. I've had teams play lousy and win. The other day, fortunately we were blessed, and we were able to win and be rewarded for that type of effort and the type of toughness that we played with last week during practice and then in the game on Saturday.
John, JCL came in here, a great shooter. How was the rest of his game developing, everything else, whether it's handling, passing, or just defensively?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, Jeremy, and obviously our job is to continue to help him grow and improve and get better. But at the end of the day, you got to be who you are. And right now we need him to take care of the ball, defend, and take and make open shots. Some of those other things are certainly coming. But I think about the Jim Collins book, Good to Great. It's okay to be great at 2 or 3 things and be really great at them than it is to try to be good or average and do 8 or 9 things. And I get that question a lot about him. I think, I felt like I was not nearly as good a player as J. Cole, obviously, and but I thought I was a pretty good shooter growing up, but not like him, So that's a gift. And I always tell them, don't ever apologize for that. There's a lot of people that like to have your burner, Take and make open shots, defend, take good care of the ball, make toughness plays. I thought he did that the other day at a pretty high level, and he got good threes off during the game. Fortunately for us, he made several big ones, especially late. And I think he's coming along. But I don't want that to be. He needs to stay, focused on what he does really, really well. Allow those things to grow and continue to improve in almost an organic manner, and they will because of how we work them and through experience and all that. But he's got to stay just like everybody else does this time of year, focused on what you do really well and bring that to the table. Bring your A stuff to the table. Bring your A stuff to the table.
Coach,
about his situation physically. I mean, it looks like he just isn't up to it, and that's what we see from the sideline.
Well, he's got to be ready to go. We've asked him to do that. He's been pretty mature about it, certainly here lately. It's not easy to do, when you're him. Obviously, he wants to play, but he'll be ready to go in preparation for tomorrow's game. If we need him, I'm confident he'll be ready to go.
After the Penn State game, you challenged your seniors a little bit. How do you think they responded last week in practice and then Saturday?
Good last week. It's a new week.
How has maybe Tracy's altered role in the last 6-7 games maybe benefited him, just in terms of trying to start getting back to maybe a level he showed earlier in the year?
Yeah. I obviously I define things differently. I know what you're alluding to there, Scott, but his role is really the same in terms of taking care of the ball, taking and making open shots, defending, providing us with a voice and some toughness. So that really hasn't changed. He has played a little bit more of the two here lately. That's changed a little bit. His minutes have changed some. That's changed some. But in terms of his role and what we need him to bring to the table, it's a little bit like Jeremy's question there on J. Cole. We need him to bring that stuff at an A level to the table. And the other day he did that. He practiced really well the 2 days leading into the game. Those 2 loose balls he came up with on Saturday were huge. Really, our guys feed off of that. They feed off of him. And I thought the energy that he played with in practice leading up to the game and the energy he had during the game and that I'm confident that he'll have today again is a big deal for our team. So he knows that, and he's really, really embracing that right now.
McIntosh and Law kind of had to carry most of the load when Lindsey was out. Now that he's back, maybe not full Scotty Lindsey yet after having mono, but just to have just me in general to have a third guy, how does that change the equation a little bit?
Well, as I said earlier, obviously he's a 15-point per game scorer, so that gets your attention. The efficiency at which he does it, his shot making ability. He can handle the ball and create his own shot. He stretches the floor for their team, and he provides them, like you're saying, Scott, with another scorer, another shooter out there, which makes him even more difficult to defend.
John, you guys, a lot of coaches always talk about you got to focus on every day, every game. How do you do that? How do you get a team focused on such a short term?
Yeah, no, it's not easy. Obviously, it's one of the challenges. I think it's gotten more and more challenging, Jeremy, every year that I've been in coaching. For a lot of different reasons. But, I do think we've talked about it a lot. I think our guys right now have really, bought into it. A lot of it starts with our seniors and their disposition towards that and not getting caught up in anything else. I thought yesterday they came in. I saw a look in their eye after, the win on Saturday where they were really very focused yesterday. We're going to be focused again today, have a great workout today in preparation for tomorrow, and kind of take it one day at a time. But you're right, it's really, it's not easy just because the nature of, people in general probably, not just necessarily your guys' world in the media, but people want to review past. People want to look in rearview mirrors, and people certainly have a tendency to predict futures, and that's very dangerous. We talk to them a lot about, getting lost in the present. I read a book a long time ago called The Precious Present that had an impact on me. We talk a lot about a lot of different things in regard to controlling what we can control and focusing on one day at a time. We've used the analogy of climbing a ladder. It's one step at a time. If you start skipping steps, you'll fall pretty quick, and you don't want to do that. So one step at a time, enjoying every chance we have to spend together as a team with this particular team. I've really challenged them with that. But I think you're right. It's not easy. But not just easy for, I think it's for everybody. To get kids 18 to 22 years old to lock in on one day at a time is challenging, but that's part of our role as coaches.
Well, what I'm going to ask you is contrary to that, so indulge me or don't. But as basketball fans, we're getting into late February here, and this is when we all do look ahead a little bit. What's going to happen in the postseason and so forth. Do you guys have no conversations about that, John? About might we end up in the NIT? Might we win the Big Ten tournament? Do you guys stay completely off of that?
We start out the year talking a lot about, in particular I did with the seniors this year, what we want to do long term. And then at that point, we kind of stash it away, Tup, and get locked in kind of on what Jeremy was saying, which is controlling one day at a time. It's the only thing that does us any good anyway. We can't control a month from now. We can't rewind and change the result of a game, or we can't do that. What we can do is learn from every circumstance and work to get better every day, and that's really all we're talking about right now.
Do you and Josh have conversations about like the NIT or what you might do post-wise as a program? Have you not talked about that at all?
We go on one day at a time.
Okay.
It could be he's gotten to know me pretty well, and he knows I don't like to do that stuff.
Coach, Finke played one of his best games of Big Ten play, 12 points, 5 assists. What are you seeing from his game, his confidence level, and is your vote in the keep the hair category?
Yeah, that's a great question. The former one, the latter one's another question, interesting. But he's playing well right now, and I think a lot of it's where he's at mentally and physically. I've talked about this before. Michael's a pretty he's mentally and physically tough, first of all. And then secondly, he just kind of plays. He's really feel very blessed. Jeremy's question was such a great question about, how do you stay in that moment? Thought it was a great question. Fink has an ability to stay in the moment that a lot of guys don't have to that level. And I think that's really allowed him to play some really good basketball at both ends of the floor. So, I certainly recognize that. He's been a big part of what we're doing and how we've played here lately. I thought he was really good on Saturday. Just has a real peace about him, playing the game the right way with a clear mind and, I think a very pure heart. And I think that a lot of times, not always, but maybe certainly most of the time, the basketball gods will reward that. I like the hair. I mean, I know it's it's a hot topic, but I like it. I try to just let him make that decision with the hair. As he keeps playing like he's been playing, he can wear the hair like he is currently. It's a great question, Rob. I actually tease him about that sometimes. I do say that. I said, I wish I had the choice even. To do that. That's not an option for me or for KB, right, KB? I probably do at times, yeah. It's not been there for a long time, and then when they do pull out those pictures, those guys give me a hard time because I had a mullet. I think it was Sean Miller at one point told me when I was at NC State, he said, you may want to cut that off and get rid of it, and that started kind of the short haircuts and and eventually led to total removal. What else? Scott?
Tijon had his hand wrapped up pretty well with ice after Saturday's game. Is he good for tomorrow?
I'll be honest with you. They're all, you got to manage all that stuff this time of year. None of them are feeling great. I know probably the other 13 teams feel the same way too. I mean, we've practiced close to 100 times. They've played in 27 games. They got little nicks and knacks here. I got guys with tendonitis. We got guys with his hand is wrapped up. He practiced yesterday. He'll practice again today. Looked good yesterday. He'll probably wrap it up again tomorrow. It's just kind of part of it. I always give him the quote about Jerry West, who used to say that if I only played on the days that I felt really, really good, I probably would have played in a lot less games than what I actually played in, when he played in his NBA career, and he was a pretty good one. So I just think it's that time of year where nicks, knacks, but nothing major there. Nothing that we should be, alarmed about, thank goodness. But guys have little things here and there right now that they're, that they have to deal with this time of year.
I guess just as follow-up to that, is it sort of a relief to just be kind of dealing with the regular end-of-the-season type injuries instead of like the last couple of years?
Yeah, it is. I try not to think of it as a relief, Scott, but I'd lie to you if I didn't tell you sometimes that, you see different things that are happening in college basketball right now, and you really feel for kids. And I used to anyway, but more so, and I've said this before, going through what we went through the last couple years and then watching a couple of our guys make comebacks from those things and how hard that is. And, so blessing's probably the word that I should use. I thank the Lord for that. That's really his, his deal. But yeah, we're relieved, blessed, certainly, as you see throughout college basketball with different injuries that different teams have or different kids have that, we've certainly, knock on wood, to this juncture, been blessed.
Coach, you guys are trying to win back-to-back Big Ten games, first time all year. They're trying to set a school record for wins. I know that's outside stuff, but do you expect any extra juice in the building or in the players?
No, I expect both teams to play really, really hard and with a great deal of toughness and energy tomorrow. I think, we understand that.